Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into a truly fascinating and honestly refreshing guide by Team Gnarfard called The Art of Classiness. Now, I want you to pause for a second. When you hear the word classy, what immediately pops into your head? Are you picturing people in wildly expensive tailored suits, maybe luxury cars pulling up to high society galas, or people sipping champagne on a yacht? Well, we are going to completely deconstruct that entire stereotype today. Let's really dive into this because the source material we are looking at presents a holistic, entirely inner-focused concept of classiness that goes far, far beyond just outward appearances. It's not about your bank account. It is about elegance, grace, and true, deep-rooted character. You know, society often sells us this pervasive myth that class is all about the superficial. We are told it's about dressing flawlessly, owning the absolute latest trendy items, or finding ways to casually flash your wealth. But the guy makes an incredibly powerful distinction here. True class actually emanates from within. It's an essence. It is fundamentally about your deeply held values, your everyday behaviors, and your core human character. Think about it this way. Trends change every single season. What was considered peak fashion 5 years ago might look completely ridiculous today. And as we all know, wealth can disappear overnight. But how we treat others and how we handle ourselves when faced with unexpected challenges, that represents a timeless, unshakable quality that completely transcends those fleeting superficial markers. So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start by moving beyond the superficial. Then we'll examine the inner moral compass. From there, we'll look at cultivating self-awareness, building a classy presence, maintaining grace under pressure, and finally, we'll wrap up by looking at why this is a lifelong journey. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Beyond the Superficial, where we define what true class actually means. The very first building block we need to talk about is elegance. Now, the text defines this as the quality of being graceful and sophisticated in appearance or manner, showing refined taste and style. I really want you to notice that specific word there, manner. Elegance isn't just about the retail cost of a tailored suit or some designer dress. It is entirely about the grace and the sophistication in how you carry yourself through the world. It's a mindset. It's an attitude and an approach to the people around you. It's that quiet confidence in your posture, the polite way you navigate a crowded room without shoving past people, and the seamless, almost effortless way you make others feel completely comfortable when they are in your presence. Next up, we have character. The text defines this as the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual, demonstrated through consistent actions and choices. The absolute crucial word here, the one you really need to underline in your mind, is consistent. Character isn't what you do just once when someone important happens to be watching. It is what you do every single day in the mundane moments. I really want you to ask yourself as we go through this explainer, do your actions actually align with your morals consistently? Or do you only turn on the charm when the boss walks into the room, but then you totally dismiss the intern who brings you your coffee? True character has no off switch. It simply doesn't clock out just because the audience leaves the room. Moving right along to values. These are defined as the principles or standards of behavior that guide how one conducts themselves, regardless of circumstances. The best way to think of your values is to picture them as your anchor. When the external environment around you gets chaotic, stressful, or incredibly demanding, your values are supposed to hold firm and dictate your behavior. When everyone else around you is panicking, complaining, or maybe looking for the easiest way out of a problem, your values are the solid anchor that keeps you grounded. They keep you steady, completely independent of whatever panic or pressure the current situation might be trying to dictate to you. And finishing up our foundational definitions, we have authenticity. This right here is the true beating core of classiness, being true to one's own personality, spirit, and character despite external pressures to conform. And let's be honest, it takes immense courage to be authentic in today's world. It means actively and consciously resisting the urge to adopt fake personas just to fit into a specific crowd or to impress someone you just met at a networking event. True class absolutely requires genuine self-expression. Why? Because the very second you start pretending to be someone you aren't, the entire illusion of elegance just shatters. People can always sense when you aren't being real with them. Let's shift gears and move into Section 2, the inner moral compass. This is the absolute bedrock of class. So the internal compass of classiness is built like a hierarchy, resting on 4 non-negotiable core values. The source guide heavily emphasizes a very important point here. These values are never, ever situational. You don't get to pick and choose when to use them. A truly classy person relies on this strong internal compass to guide their behavior in every single interaction they have. It acts as the unshakable bedrock for developing any of the refined external expressions of class that we usually notice first. We really need to break these 4 pillars down because they are absolutely vital to everything else we're going to talk about today. First, right at the very top, we have integrity. This is all about doing the right thing even when absolutely no one is watching you. It is maintaining your core principles when it's incredibly difficult and when cutting corners would just be so much easier. Think about it. If you find a wallet stuffed with cash and there's no one around, integrity is returning it intact simply because it's the right thing to do, not because you want a reward. Then we have empathy, truly understanding and sharing the feelings of others. It's the active ability to put yourself in their shoes. If a colleague is struggling with a massive project, empathy isn't just pitting them from afar, it's remembering a time when you felt completely overwhelmed yourself and offering your support from a place of genuine, shared humanity. Next up is kindness, which the text defines as showing genuine concern and generosity toward others. And that means absolutely everyone. It means bringing a coffee for the building security guard, not just the CEO who might be able to do a favor for you later. And finally, honesty. But pay very close attention to how it's defined here, speaking truth with tact and consideration. This is where so many people stumble. A truly classy person perfectly balances honest communication with tactful, careful delivery. It's the stark difference between bluntly saying, well, that idea is terrible, and saying, I see what you're aiming for, but let's explore some other angles to make it even stronger. You can be entirely truthful without ever resorting to being harsh or cruel. Moving smoothly into Section 3, cultivating self-awareness. This is how you avoid coming across as pretentious. The guide lays out 3 essential steps for cultivating this deep self-awareness. First off, you must know your strengths. You have to identify and nurture your natural talents. But the key here is doing it without boasting. A classy person deeply understands their inherent value and simply doesn't feel the need to constantly fish for external validation from everyone in the room. But equally important is the second step, acknowledging your weaknesses. This means recognizing your blind spots and areas for improvement with total grace and humility. When you can see growth without getting defensive the second someone offers you feedback, that is a massive hallmark of true class. And third, you have to embrace authenticity, which we touched on earlier. Be comfortable in your own skin rather than awkwardly pretending to be someone else. When you possess this honest, deeply grounded self-knowledge, you naturally prevent those affected, pretentious behaviors. Instead, you end up navigating social situations with a total, disarming sincerity that draws people to you. All right, Section 4, building a classy presence, taking everything from the inside and bringing it to the outside. Classiness manifests in the real world through consistent, step-by-step daily habits. Step 1 is to practice good manners. This means cultivating courteous behavior in literally all interactions, saying please and thank you, holding doors open for the person behind you, and actually listening attentively when someone speaks. It sounds so basic, right? But it's amazing how often it's forgotten in our fast-paced world. Step 2 is to uplift others. Offer sincere compliments and real encouragement. Focus on what others do well without secretly comparing them to yourself or treating every single conversation like it's a zero-sum competition. Step 3 is to handle conflict gracefully. When disagreements happen, and let's be real, they definitely will, address them with diplomacy. Maintain your composure, listen to actually understand the other person's point of view, and seek constructive resolutions. A fantastic modern example of this is taking a deep breath and physically stepping away from your keyboard for an hour before responding to a highly inflammatory email. Just walk away. And step 4, practice mindfulness. Be fully present in your conversations. Put the phone away. Be thoughtful in your actions, always considering how your behavior is actively impacting the people around you. Remember, these shouldn't be a one-time performance. They should stem from genuine consideration, eventually becoming total second nature over time. So these daily habits organically form your overall physical presence, and the guide breaks this down across 3 main areas. For personal presentation, it's all about a well-groomed appearance that reflects care and attention to detail. We're talking about clean, appropriate attire, standing tall with your shoulders back to convey a quiet confidence without crossing over into arrogance. And again, to be perfectly clear, it absolutely does not require expensive designer clothing. For communication style, you really want to develop clear, articulate speech. Use proper grammar, try to avoid excessive slang, and seriously practice active listening. That means maintaining good eye contact and responding thoughtfully, rather than just silently waiting for your turn to speak. And finally, for composed demeanor, you must cultivate emotional intelligence so you can maintain your poise under pressure. You need to develop real patience and a high tolerance for minor inconveniences without instantly displaying visible irritation. When you combine these 3 elements, they create a deeply harmonious and authentic presence that people instantly respect. I really want to pause on this exact quote from the text. It's in these small moments that true class is revealed. This is such an essential, foundational takeaway from this entire explainer. Class isn't some fancy suit you put on just for grand galas, job interviews, or public speeches. The everyday, granular, seemingly invisible moments when you think absolutely nobody is paying attention to you, those are the ultimate stress tests of your classiness. Let's see how this builds into practical, real-world applications.
So how does all this theory actually manifest tangibly in your day-to-day life? The source gives us some wonderful everyday examples. First, receiving feedback graciously. This means genuinely listening attentively to criticism and actually thanking the person, instead of instantly throwing up a massive defensive wall and arguing back. Showing universal respect. This is treating a service worker with the exact same dignity, warmth, and eye contact as you would a high-level executive. Being dependable. This means honoring your commitments consistently, arriving on time, and communicating clearly and early if things unexpectedly change. Practicing generosity. Sharing your time and openly celebrating other people's successes without a single hint of hidden jealousy. Think about how you respond to a waiter accidentally messing up your dinner order. Or, the true ultimate test of modern patience. Your reaction when the grocery store's self-checkout machine inexplicably freezes right when you're in a hurry. That split-second, visceral reaction vividly paints everything anyone needs to know about your true class.
Which leads me to break the rhythm here for a second and ask you a very direct question. How do you react when things go wrong? Take just a second to honestly reflect on your own behavior during stressful, inconvenient, or difficult moments. Do you maintain that composed demeanor we talked about, or do you let the frustration completely take over and dictate your actions? And that brings us perfectly into Section 5, Grace Under Pressure, How We Handle Real Adversity. This right here is the absolute crucible of our explainer today. This is where we stress test the entire concept of class against harsh, real-world adversity. Because as the text rightfully notes, literally anyone can appear classy when things are going perfectly well. Maintaining your dignity during challenging, unfair, or stressful times is what truly distinguishes genuine class from a mere superficial performance. Step 1. Face adversity with dignity. Avoid public complaints or dramatic attention-seeking displays. Address your problems directly, but do it privately, focusing heavily on solutions rather than just endlessly dwelling on the negative. Step 2. Take the high road. When others behave poorly around you, and they will, resist the overwhelming urge to respond in kind. Choose restraint over retaliation. Think about how incredibly tempting it is to loudly clap back at a rude, unwarranted comment on social media. True class is putting the phone down, walking away, and preserving your peace. Always remember, how you respond to others' poor behavior says infinitely more about your character than their actions say about theirs. Step 3. Own your mistakes. When you mess up, apologize sincerely without making a single solitary excuse. Take full responsibility and make amends. And Step 4. Embrace growth opportunities. View your setbacks as chances to develop resilience and approach tough criticism as valuable feedback to continuously refine your character. Finally, let's look at Section 6, A Lifelong Journey, the importance of continuous growth. As we start to wrap up the deep insights from this guide, we really need to frame classiness correctly. It is absolutely not a final destination that you just magically reach one Tuesday and then you're done. It is a continuous, lifelong practice. Embodying classiness requires you to commit to continuous improvement. You have to regularly, intentionally reflect on your behaviors and your daily interactions to refine your conduct over time. You don't just learn this stuff once, you constantly adapt and grow. You must aggressively align your actions with your values. Ensure your daily choices consistently, without fail, reflect your core beliefs. True class naturally emerges from the complete, seamless harmony between what you believe and how you actually behave. It is never just an occasional, convenient performance of politeness. And finally, inspire through example. You lead by quiet example. By focusing on developing your own internal classiness, your consistent, grounded behavior will naturally inspire the people around you to elevate their own conduct, all without you ever having to explicitly lecture or instruct them.
As the guide beautifully and concisely summarizes it, embodying classiness is about becoming the best version of yourself, authentic, principled, and refined. The crucial overarching point to take away from all of this information today is that classiness is absolutely not about achieving some impossible standard of perfection. We are all human. We all have bad days. Instead, it is about a continuous, deliberate, day in and day out effort to conduct yourself with dignity, with kindness, and with grace in all circumstances. When you do that, you create an incredibly positive ripple effect of elegance and mutual respect that impacts absolutely everyone around you.
So I am going to leave you with this final, rather provocative thought to deeply reflect on as you go about the rest of your week. Are your daily choices genuinely reflecting your innermost core values, or are they just an elaborate performance for the people watching? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer on the true art of classiness. Keep reflecting, keep growing, and I'll see you next time.